let's get stuck into the content. So, are we ready to proceed? So let me just switch my PowerPoint presentation over to GDPR Complies. Hopefully you can hear me all right, and I'll continue. So GDPR Comply are an organisation that I've been working with probably for about 15, no longer than that, probably about 18 months now. And they came into effect by a couple of guys that are very legal and very technical. And they said, you know what, we need, based on what GDPR are telling us, we need to be able to go out to people and simplify what they're trying to do and get rid of some of the myths around GDPR, because there was all sorts of stuff going out in the press at the time. So we've got a mixture of customers here with us on this webinar today. We've got some education, some law firms, a brewery, corporates, and also a couple of enterprise customers, SMEs and enterprise. So what does GDPR and what does it mean to you? Well, it's a new approach to how we look at our data and how we manage it. Historically, we will just take business cards off of people, we might put them into our CRM systems, and people will give us data, but we don't really manage how we look after that. And as a result of a lot of data breaches that have been occurring over the last couple of years, GDPR have decided, the European Union decided enough's enough. We need to put a framework in place. If we want customers' data and we want to use it to sell to them, to engage with them, and or if it's education and we've got those on our campus, then we need to make sure that we're looking after people's personal information. And we need to do it very securely and in a very process-driven way. So what they're giving us is a framework for what happens in a security breach and what the financial implications to your organisations are. What it does, it creates emphasis on all documented accountability and the processes that are being driven by this GDPR. So it's no longer about just software, and a lot of it will be down to having the right processes and the right people in place within your organisation should a breach occur. Okay. So the ICO, the Information Commissioner's Office, have got 12 points that they've kindly given us to consider. I'm not going to read through all of them, but again, making people aware what individual rights are. Have we got legal basis for processing personal basic information? Have we got consent? What happens if that data belongs to children? What happens for data breaches? And what happens on an international level if you're an international organisation? So, hold on a second, just had something in my chat box. Sorry about that. So, moving on. Awareness. Let's identify key stakeholders for compliance. Okay. Let's educate our customers and our users that are using this on the risks and impacts to the current business model. And this should be at a very high level, because ultimately the CEO of the organisation, the MD of the organisation, head teachers, etc. Unfortunately, the buck will stop at the very top. It won't be sliding down like it has done historically. And let's not leave it to the last minute with regards to educating people about data within our organisation and how we securely manage and protect and maintain that data. What information you hold, what PII you hold, that personal information, that identifiable information you have on other people. Where did it come from? Who's it shared with? Are we going to update inaccurate data that we hold on people? Communicating this privacy information to the people that you hold data on. Explaining what your current privacy policy stands about. When collecting data, you must identify who you are. You must explain why you're collecting that data, how long you're going to hold it for. Okay. If they have a right to complain, explain what that process is for them, and make sure you communicate clearly and concisely so it's easy to understand what's going on for those people. So the GDPR grants individuals the rights of subject access. We've talked about this, yeah. Correction of inaccurate information. They also have the right to erase that data that you hold on them and also prevent you direct marketing them. And also the prevention of unautomated decision making and profiling. And as a business, you have to review your policies and make sure that all of those above points are taken into consideration. Can you locate the data that you have on these people? And this is where TermSet and Stuart Connors will come into it very shortly. Can you respond within the new 30-day window? I think before it used to be a couple of months, and now they've drilled down on that and said, well, actually, if you've got someone's data and it's inaccurate and it's inappropriate for you to hold it, why should you have it for a couple of months? So they need to deal with stuff swiftly and firmly. Okay. How does the rights of the individual change the way you currently operate? Subject access requests. So we've talked about this. What are your current procedures if someone says to you, what information do you have on me? How do you drill down into that data that you have? Can you drill down into your databases? Can you drill down in through your SharePoint and say, actually, we can gain every single piece of information on Joe Blogs and be able to delete it off our systems or actually provide that user that's asked for the subject access request how much information you have on them? And how will you provide that information on a physical media back to them? Okay, I'm going to skip through this. Consent. Do you currently seek, obtain and record consent for the people that you're holding data on? And if so, what is your method for complaint to the GDPR? Okay. Consent must be given clearly, granting permission to process personal data and cannot be inferred from silence or pre-ticked boxes or inactivity. You must be able to demonstrate consent was given, so consider how you would create an effective audit trail should someone come along and say, can you remove my data? How have you got my data? Where have you got it from? So this applies to people that buy in data for marketing and mailing purposes, etc. Children, how do you verify the age of an individual providing data to you? How do you verify and obtain consent from a parent or legal guardian? Are we thinking about this right here, right now? I'm sure a lot of the schools that we deal with are, but how is it documented? What are the processes and are they documented and explained in a clear, concise manner? Data breaches. You get hacked like TalkTalk. What are your policies and procedures to detect, report and investigate a breach? What security systems have you got in place in the first place to prevent breaches? Are you making sure that you are protecting and blocking known vulnerabilities within your organization through and making it a strong posture from a security aspect as possible? Okay. A failure to report a breach when required could result in a fine on top of a fine for the actual breach. So that's two fines, fine for not reporting and a fine for the actual breach in the first place. Data protection by design and impact assessment. Okay, who does that for you in your organization now? Do you ensure that policies and procedures are implemented following a privacy breach? Data protection officers. There's a survey out that says worldwide, as a result of GDPR, there's going to need to be another 75,000 data protection officer roles created over and above what's already out there in the global marketplace. So again, this problem isn't going away. Do you operate internationally? Have you got offices all over the world? Have you got staff all over the world? Where's that data held? Who's managing it? Who's securing it? So when it comes to GDPR Comply, they are your virtual GDPR data protection officer. So they would come in, they would do some assessment for you, and they work to this policy and this basic premise. They start with a baseline and they understand your current risk. Okay, what data do you hold? How did you obtain the data? Everything that we've talked about earlier. How do you currently document your processes? So as you can see with GDPR, yes, you're going to need some technology to help you with this, but you need to also have your policies in place. Mitigate, prioritize and address your current risks. Where are they? Inventory the data that you hold already. Do you have a CRM system? Do you have an auto task or a Salesforce? Where's that located? Where is that data stored? How long before you archive data? Where's that archive data held? How quickly can you get access to that archive data to be able to search that archive data should you get someone do a subject access request? And then manage. And this is an ongoing thing, okay? Once you've got it in place and once you've got your processes in place, you've then got to go through this life cycle of constantly maintaining up-to-date data, making sure you have permissions from people that you've got where you've got data of theirs on your systems. So yeah, so here's that report from IAP, and it says a regulation will create on demand for at least 75,000 data protection officers worldwide. And the most important thing is to make sure that someone in your organization or an external data protection advisor like GDPR Comply takes proper responsibility for your data protection compliance and has the knowledge, support and authority to do so effectively. Okay. So I won't answer any questions on GDPR Comply because the guys know a hell of a lot more about it than I do. I've just stepped in today to make sure that you guys had a brief understanding of the complexities that are out there and that there is help. And that's through MTech and through our partners like GDPR Comply who can help you with that tremendously. So without further ado, I'm going to get off of this slide deck and I'm going to hand over to Stuart Connors from TermSet, who's going to be able to carry on through with regards to explaining what TermSet does and why you should be looking at their technology for PII. Okay, over to you, Stuart.
Thanks, Andy. Can you hear me okay? And can you see my screen, Andy? Hi, Andy. It's Stuart from TermSet. Can you just confirm that you can see my
I can hear and
screen?
see. Yeah, I can hear and see. It's fine. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Andy. Hi, guys. So yeah, my name is Stuart Connors. I'm one of the founders of TermSet. We're a UK software company, and we've been around about 3 years. We've been set up by myself and a number of ex-Microsoft colleagues. And today I've got about 7 or 8 slides to show you, to talk you through. And basically, our company has built some technology that helps you discover personal identifiable information within your documents that are either structured or unstructured within your organization. As Andy mentioned, PII stands for personal identifiable information. But obviously we can scan for any sensitive information you want to find within your documents. And what's the benefit of that? So the benefit to you as a customer is this will help you automate the process and quickly respond if you were to receive a right to be forgotten or subject access request from the public. As you know or may not know, under GDPR, the new regulation, there's a subtle change now to a subject access request. Currently, you have 40 days to respond to that request. Under GDPR, that will decrease down to 30 days. The right to be forgotten, or sometimes called right to be removed, is a new law under GDPR. What that does and what that means is it entitles any of your customers or former employees to demand that you find all the information you store or hold about them, and you then have within 30 days to locate that, present it back to the person making the claim. And that's the one that's really got, I think, most customers concerned, because if they don't respond to that request within that certain time period, then as Andy mentioned, there are potential big fines or bad publicity associated with that. So I'm going to talk about how our organization will help you to manage and quickly respond to these requests, and then put in place a process to automatically automate the process for locating sensitive data. So, as I mentioned, we're a software company. We have partnered with MTech. MTech are one of our premier partners in the UK. So all our solutions for Scanner are purchased and deployed by MTech. So Scanner, what is Scanner? So Scanner is our software product. It's an application that you install locally within your environment. So you install it on a application server or VM box. If you're in the cloud, you can install it in your cloud tenant. But the idea is it's a local application that you manage and install locally within your firewall. And then what most companies have, and I guess you guys can relate to this, is most companies have multiple systems where they currently store documents within. And what Scanner does is Scanner connects to those systems. So whether you're storing documents in your file shares, file servers, you may be using Office 365, you may be using SharePoint, OneDrive or Dropbox, etc. We can connect to those systems. If you have a system that you don't recognize on the slide today, providing it has an API or web connection, we can build a connector for that system. But today, we are connecting to the world market leading systems that store documents in, which are the ones you see on the screen today. So Scanner will connect to those systems, and then Scanner will basically interrogate all the documents in those systems and scan for information that you've asked it to look for. So when we say documents, we can scan for any version of Office document, so any version of Word, Excel, PowerPoint. We can also read and scan any version of PDF. If we come across any photocopies you've got, or any scans or images, we will on the fly OCR that document. OCR means optical character recognition. So what that means is we will transform that image or that photocopy into a text readable document. So the example might be you may have a number of photocopies of people's passports for ID purposes. We will read those, scan them, OCR them, and then pull out the text within those photocopies of those passports. So we're able to read any PDF, any Office document, any image, any photocopy, and then we extract the personal, identifiable, or sensitive information from those documents, and then present them back to you in a series of reports or dashboards that will enable you to make some informed decisions on what to do with that information. So that's just a high-level view of the architecture of how the product really works and hangs together. So it's a local application. You point it to the systems you store your documents in. The product then interrogates the document, pulls out the PI or sensitive information you've asked it to look for, and then presents it back to you in a series of dashboards and reports that you can then drill into and then make some informed decisions on what to do with that information. So Scanner is all about discovering PI data and reporting on PI data. So this next few slides now, I'm going to show you the actual product at a high level, how it would work from a user perspective. So Scanner has been designed with the user in mind. So Scanner can be used by any business user. It's not just to be used by the IT technical team. So any business person in your company can use Scanner. So here we're seeing the Scanner user interface. So we're going to ask Scanner to do two things. The first thing we're going to ask it is to find a location, a file share, to read documents in. So we're going to point it to a file share. We're then going to ask it to choose some certain keywords to look for in those documents. So what you're seeing here on the screen is we're now going to create a new configuration, a new scan to run. We're going to ask Scanner to point to a file share. So we get a drop-down view, so we can choose file share. We could choose O365 or SharePoint 13 or 16, but we're going to choose a file share. We then enter the file share path. So which file share do we want to read documents from? If we're choosing a SharePoint or O365 tenant, then here's the view you would get. You would be asked to enter the SharePoint or O365 tenant address. Then obviously you would enter your username and password. With Scanner, it's completely locked down with security name and login password. You can use your Active Directory password, or you can use your own authentication solution, or you can create a password username with our tool. So it's fully protected and fully password protected. So we've asked Scanner to look at a file share. We're now going to ask Scanner what keywords, what PI keywords do we want to search for in those documents in that file share. So Scanner comes with what is called a rules engine library. That library contains over 200 PII or sensitive words that are used globally. As you can imagine, it covers every PII sensitive word from an Argentinian bank right down to a UK postcode. And all you would do, like any rules engine library, you would simply click on the keywords you want to look for, drag and drop them to the right-hand side. So in this example, we've chosen a bank account number, some blood groups, credit card, UK driving license, people's name and postcode. Along with our extensive rules engine library, we're also Scanner has a form of artificial intelligence which uses pattern matching. So what that means is when you look for someone's name, a person's name, as you can imagine, we don't store everyone's name on the planet, but with our pattern matching, we're able to recognize people's names in a document by the algorithm and the pattern of that text. So the example might be, you may want to search all the documents that contain Andy Irving's name in them. So we'll enter Andy Irving as a name, but we're also able to find Andy Irving if it's been spelled differently because of the pattern matching. So we'll find Andy Irving's, we'll find A Irving's and Andy I's, because we know that in that document that pattern is a person's name. Another example is, say, a credit card. Credit cards always have a set number of numbers in a series of numbers. So when we search for a credit card, we'll know that we found a 9-digit number and we found the word account, MasterCard, Visa or credit card in the same vicinity or same pattern of that document. So we know those numbers are more likely to be credit cards rather than phone numbers. So to summarize, an extensive rules engine library that you can choose keywords from, plus our pattern matching is able to also identify other keywords based on the pattern within the document. We're also able to add our own or edit our own keywords to this library. So your organization may want to search for maybe your employee numbers, or if you're a school, a university, student numbers, or if you're a legal company, you may be looking to try and locate case management numbers. So with our product, we're also able to add and create our own rules to look for, and that's done by using our rule editor feature that you can see on the screen now. So if I take the example, say you are a law firm, you want to find case management numbers in all your documents, and let's say your case management numbers are always 10 digits, 5 are numbers and 5 are letters, and there's always a space in between the letters and the numbers. So here you would give it a rule name, you call it case management. In the rule description, you would say it contains 10 digits, and the rule pattern is 10 digits which are 5 numbers and 5 letters and a space in between. So what we're saying here is every time we come across a 10-digit number with a space and half a numbers and half letters, we know that that's a case management number. So we would retrieve that as part of our scan. We're also able, in the top right where it says rule weight, we're also able to apply a weight or a score against the keywords that we find in those documents. So you may say every time we find a name or a credit card or bank account number, we want to give that a rule weight of, say, 50%, because in your world 50% is a high sensitive rating. So we want to be made aware of documents that contain bank details. And then once we know we've found those bank details based on the rule weight, we can then action on those immediately. Or we could use other third-party products like Microsoft Flow or Nintex Workflow to route those to the right people at the right time. Or you may say every time we find someone's IP address, we don't really care about that, so we'll score that 10% and ignore it as a priority in our scan. So we've now asked Scanner to point to a file share. We've now asked it to look for some certain keywords in those documents for PII, and we may have also asked it to look for a specific keyword that's relevant to our organization. For example, the case management number. So we now hit scan. Scanner goes off. It goes to your file share, cracks open all your documents, and starts looking for those keywords you've asked it to look for. So it's now scanning your documents on those keywords you've asked it to scan for. If it comes across an image or a photocopy or a scanned PDF, it will convert those documents to PDF, to OCR, and it will then pull out the sensitive PI data that you've asked it to look for. With regards to bandwidth and load on your documents, Scanner is a fairly lightweight application. It takes about a second per document to read. You can also schedule Scanner to scan on a scheduled basis. So you may say only scan on a Sunday night or on a Friday afternoon. So you can schedule Scanner to run on a time base. When we do the first scan, as you can appreciate, it scans everything in your documents, in your systems. However, on the subsequent scans, Scanner will only scan the delta or the new documents added to your library. So it's not doing a full scan every time. On the subsequent scans, it only scans the new changes or delta to your documents in your system. So Scanner has gone away, it's completed its scan, and then what we get back is a series of reports and dashboards so you can now visualize the information you've asked us to look for. So this example, you can see we've got a high-level view of what documents contain GDPR. In the bar graph, this is our scoring system, so which documents score based on certain keywords that we found. And then if we go into our data view, here we're now able to really drill down into the information that we found. So now we're able to visualize the folders the files were stored in, the names, what types of files they were, the names of the files, and then on the top and the far right, where the value is, we're now able to drill into the information that we found. So we can now say, tell me all the documents that contain Andy Irving's name, along with his home address, his postcode, his bank details, and maybe his credit card numbers. In the top middle left, where it says the search icon, the magnifying glass, here we're able to type in someone's name. So if we receive a subject access request from Andy Irving, we can type in Andy's name, hit search. Scanner will search all the documents for Andy's name and his PI information, and then present it back into this report. Unlike any reporting dashboard, on the bottom you can see where it says export to Excel. We are able to export this report into Excel. So for all of you Excel lovers out there, we're able to ingest these reports into your Excel spreadsheets, and you can number crunch away in Excel. Or if you're a Power BI user or a Click user or whatever flavor of BI you like to use, we can export these reports into your chosen BI product that you use, or again into Excel or Excel services. If you're a big SharePoint user, then this is what Scanner would look like in SharePoint. So this is a SharePoint library you can see on the screen. Here we've uploaded some Word and PDF documents. So when we run Scanner to scan those documents in your SharePoint library, we in effect create 3 new columns in your SharePoint library. We create a GDPR match column. So at a high level, what documents did Scanner find that contains PI data, true or false? The next column, we give you the actual data we found in those documents. So we're able to surface the actual specific information that we found in those documents. And in the far right, the GDPR score, this is, if you remember, when we were able to score or weight certain keywords that we find based on their sensitivity. So it's the view you would get within the SharePoint library. So for example, the top document, banking document, you can see that's been scored at 20% because we've said to Scanner, every time you find someone's bank details, account number or credit card, we want to be informed of that immediately, so we've marked it 20%. Right in the middle, we found just Bill Gates' name as a person, we've only scored that 10% because at the moment we're not too worried about just finding people's names. What we're more concerned about is finding financial information. So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you today around the Scanner product. Another few features that Scanner also contains is the ability to help you reduce your file data size. I imagine you, like most companies, probably suspect you contain some duplicates within your file shares or your repositories, which you'd love to have removed. Or you probably know that some files have been accessed for a period of time. So you're trying to find ways to help reduce your file data size, as well as finding GDPR information. So I just want to run through just a couple of features that our products contain for free. There's 3 features. So when we run our scan to find GDPR and PI data, we're also able to, before or after, enable 3 features. The first one is a file deduplication. So all the documents that we read, we're able to tell you which ones are duplicated. We're also able to make them PDFable, searchable. So what that means is, if you recall when I mentioned that we're able to, every time we see an image or a photocopy, we're able to OCR that. So we're able to, at a bulk level, we're able to see any time we see a scanned image or photocopy, we will on the fly convert those to OCR and readable PDFs. And the third thing is we're able to also what is called run a file attribute scan, which tells you the detail of the files when they're created, who owns them, when they are last modified. So as an example, let's show you the report from the file duplication report. So here in this view on the screen, we're seeing that Scanner read 45 documents and 34 of them are duplicated. And we're able to move those duplicates to another file share or to an archiving system. Or you can manually look at those reports and make some informed decisions on what to do with those documents. The file attribute report that I mentioned is this view here. So again, Scanner is able to tell you when the file was created, who created the file, the date it was created, the last date it was modified, and the last date it was accessed. So you may have a policy that says any documents that haven't been read or accessed for over 10 years, you want to archive them or maybe destroy them. Or you may say any files that contain a certain size, i.e. any files that are over 2 terabytes, you want to be notified of that. So with this report here, we're able to drill into the information. So you may say, show me all the documents that Scanner has found that that were created or haven't been accessed for over 5, 8, or 10 years. Or show me all the files that contain data over 3 terabytes. Or show me all the files that are duplicated within our systems. So I just wanted to just finish up by on the product demo by just showing you some other features within Scanner. That's my product demonstration completed today. I've now got another 2 slides just to finish up with. For all those people that are starting their GDPR journey, there's a documentation that was written which breaks out all the milestones and articles that you would need to comply or be ready for GDPR for next year. As you can imagine, it's quite a lengthy document. It can be found at on this URL link you can see on the screen today. But basically, it contains 11 chapters, and in those chapters they contain 99 articles. And those articles talk about what are the processes you put in place for GDPR readiness, what is the methodology, how do you train your people, the guidance around people, process, and also technology. And the reason why I've called this out on this slide is because when you purchase our scanner product, it will help you comply with these following 10 articles that are contained within the GDPR documentation. And they are detailed here for you. And again, as Andy mentioned, we can share these slides with you to read at a later stage. So Scanner will help you comply with a number of articles contained within the GDPR article. So good news, guys, this is my last slide. So as a summary, Scanner is a software-based product. Its objective is to help you automate the process for discovering PI or sensitive information across all your documents, whether they're structured or unstructured, across a number of IT systems, for example, file shares, SharePoint, Dropbox, etc. It helps you quickly respond to subject access request or right to be forgotten or right to be removed requests. It also helps you comply with over 10 of the 99 articles that you can find in the GDPR documentation. And if you're on a migration journey, or if you're looking to cleanse your data store, then we're able to help you reduce your file data size. So we're able to help you identify and remove your duplicates, so help you to identify files that have been accessed for a period of time, so you can archive those to another repository. So that's me finished. It's 1:45. As a next step, if anybody is interested in understanding more about our product Scanner, we're happy to provide a evaluation kit, so you can test Scanner on your documents in your environment, or if you would require a more detailed demonstration as a next step, please let me know. But thanks for your time. I'm going to hang around for anybody who has any questions, so I'll hand back over now to Andy.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Guys, ladies and gents that are on the webinar now, I've unmuted you all. All the power of this button. If you have any questions that you would like to discuss outside of the chat box just by talking now, then obviously I've unmuted you all, so feel free to ask away. If not, then like I said, these slides and the recording of this webinar will be, a link will be sent to you with regards to that. So have we got any questions out there at the moment? Anyone? Don't have to all be shy. I'm sure there's some questions, and if not, okay, thank you very much, Pauline. Thank you, no questions, that's good. Anyone else? Hilary, yes, all good. Right, okay, so in conclusion then, if there are no questions, as I said, MTech, we pride ourselves on bringing new and innovative technologies to you guys, and ideas to our ever expanding customer base. And anyone that is currently a customer of MTech will know and appreciate the value that we bring to you each and every day, not only just in the IT systems that we sell to you, but in the consultancy and the advice that we provide as well. So in summary, GDPR, as Stuart has said, it isn't going away. Only 5 months to go. Let us at MTech work together with you and our partners like TermSet and GDPR Comply to make sure that you're ready for May the 25th. Any uncertainty around your obligations and exposure, we can remove those, and that you can continue to run your organisations in confidence, knowing that GDPR is no longer a headache that it presents itself to be. As I said, the links today, they'll be emailed to you in the next 24 hours by our lovely Tamar. Have a good afternoon. Thanks for attending. And if we don't get to speak to you beforehand, then may I, on behalf of MTech Systems and Stuart from TermSet, wish you a very Merry Christmas and a happy GDPR compliant New Year. Thank you very much all for your time.